House Democrats and the Senate Majority Coalition Caucus have released their budget plans. What's your take on them?
Well, at least the Senate Majority Coalition Caucus, their budget, they live within existing means. Our revenue forecasts right now are showing that we've got $3.9 billion more than we had this time 2 years ago. And the House budget, they're looking at another $1.5 billion in taxes on top of what the taxpayers are already giving them. The economy has grown a little bit, especially in Seattle, but areas outside of Seattle, they haven't seen the same recovery that Seattle has. The taxes that they're assuming for their budget, $1.5 billion in new taxes, are taxes that, one, the voters have said no to in some cases. One of the taxes was repealed by the voters with a 65% margin in 2010. Another tax is a form of a tax that they said no to by a 65% margin in 2010. And that was an income tax that they said no to. And that would have been only on the top 1 or 2% wage earners. The tax that they're coming up with now, which is a tax on income, would actually hit much further down the pay scale and start getting into middle-class families and starts to really hurt the citizens all around the state. So there's been a boom in Seattle, but the taxes affect all over the state. So those who are still hurting would be shouldering the burden for a budget that just doesn't say no. And sometimes here in Olympia, we need to say no.
The governor and the majority party in the House claim there aren't enough revenues to pay for state services. What do you think?
Our revenues are up by about 12% over what they were 2 years ago. So I don't know very many people in this state that have seen their revenues go up, that have seen their income go up by 12% in that time period. Most people would be happy if it had gone up 6%, even half of that in that time period. And they're required to live within their means. They have no choice. And so not only did they not get the increase, now the state is coming and saying, we're going to take some of that away in the form of new taxes. And I just think that's the wrong approach. We've already got additional money, and the state needs to say no to some people and start looking for efficiencies. The governor went through his lean management process, and on a budget of $35 billion could only find $7 million in savings. That's all he could find? That doesn't speak very well of the governor, does it? There's clearly more than that. You could find probably $7 million in just about any state agency that we have. And that's what we need to start doing. I've seen data that shows that some of the Washington Management Service, some of the administration, and a lot of our agencies all got raises when our frontline state employees didn't. I'm sure you'd find well over $7 million just combing through that. And yet the governor hasn't. And my understanding is the governor's office is consuming more dollars now than they were before he went through the process. So he's not even finding savings in his own office. So there are serious problems with what's going on in state government. That's one thing that hasn't changed.
Can the two sides come to an agreement by April 26th, the scheduled end of the session?
I think it's absolutely imperative that we get to a budget agreement before April 26th. The citizens send us here for 105 days, and we need to get our work done in 105 days. The reason why it's 105 days is because we are writing budgets. We're writing an operating budget that's good for 2 years. We're writing a transportation budget that's good for 2 years. We're writing a capital budget that's good for 2 years. Anything we do above that is above what we need to do. Those are the three things that we need to do. We are given 105 days because we need to do those things. Because yes, they are difficult to do. But we only have a 60-day session next year, and that's because we only need to make some adjustments to the budget. We need to make sure we're getting our work done by our deadlines. Because if the majority party thinks we don't have enough money right now to write this budget, then do we really have enough money to have us here longer? And the answer to that is no, absolutely not. Let's get it done in 105 days. Let's get back home, and let's get legislators contributing back into the economy rather than just taking more and more out of the state budget. That's the wrong thing to do. Let's get it done 105 days, go back to our communities, be back in our communities, back at our jobs, back with our families, back with our friends and neighbors, and a reminder of why we were sent here in the first place.